Hey guys, I'm back again today to read some more in BFG for you. Snozcumbers. But if you don't eat people like the others, Sophie said, then what do you live on? That's a squelching, trickling problem around here, said the BFG. In this slosh-flunkling giant country, happy eats like pineapples and pinkwinkles is simply not growing. Nothing is growing except for one extremely icky poo vegetable. It is called the snozcumber. The snozcumber? Cried Sophie. There is no such thing. The BFG looked at Sophie and smiled, showing about 20 of his square white teeth. Yesterday, said, we was not believing in giants, was we? Today we is not believing in snozcumbers. Just because we happen not to have actually seen something with our own two little winkles. We think it is not existing. What about, for instance, a great squizzly Scotch hopper? I beg your pardon, Sophie said. And the humplecrimp? What's that? Sophie said. And the rap rascal? What the? Sophie said. And the crumpscottle? Are they animals? Sophie said. They is common animals, said the BFG. Contemptuously, I is not a very well know-all giant myself, but it seems to me that you is absolutely know nothing, human being. Your brain is full of rotten wool. You mean cotton wool, Sophie said. What I mean is what I say is two different things, the BFG announced rather grandly. I will now show you a snozcumber. The BFG flung open a massive cupboard and took out the weirdest looking thing Sophie had ever seen. It was about half as long as an ordinary man, but it was much thicker, and it was as thick around as in girth as its preameter. It was black with white stripes along its length, and it is covered all over in coarse knobs. Here's a picture of the snozcumber. Here is the repulsant snozcumber, cried the BFG, waving it about. I squoggle it, I mispile it, I dispunge it, but because I is refusing to gobble up human beings like the other giants, I must spend my life guzzling up icky poo snozcumbers instead. If I don't, I will be nothing but skin and groans. You mean skin and bones, Sophie said. I know it's bones, the BFG said, but please understand that I cannot be helping if sometimes I is saying things a little squiggly. I is trying my very best all the time. The big friendly giant looked suddenly so forlorn that Sophie got quite upset. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to be rude. There never was any schools to teach me talking in giant country, the BFG said. But couldn't your mother have taught you? Sophie asked. My mother, cried the BFG. Giants don't have mothers. Surely you is knowing that. I did not know that, Sophie said. Whoever heard of a woman giant? Shouted the BFG, waving a snozcumber around his head like a lasso. There never was a woman giant, and there never will be one. Giants is always men. Sophie felt herself getting a little muddled. In that case, she said, how were you born? Giants isn't born, the BFG answered. Giants appear, and that's all there is to it. They simply appears, the same way the sun and the stars. And when do you appear? Sophie asked. Now, how on earth could I be knowing a thing like that? Said the BFG. It was so long ago that I couldn't count. You mean you don't even know how old you are? No giant is knowing that, the BFG said. All I is knowing about myself is that I is very old. Very, very old and crumply. Perhaps as old as the earth. What happens when the giant dies? Sophie asked. Giants is never dying, the BFG answered. Sometimes and quite suddenly a giant is disappearing and nobody is ever knowing where he goes to. But mostly us giants is simply going on and on like whistling time twiddlers. The BFG was still holding the awesome snozcumber in his right hand, and now he would put one hand to his mouth and bit off a huge chunk. He started crunching it up, and the noise he made was like crunching up lumps of ice. It's filthing, he spluttered, speaking with his mouth full and spraying large pieces of snozcumber like bullets in Sophie's direction. Sophie hopped around on the table, ducking out of the way. It is disgusterous, the BFG growled. It is sickable. It's rotsome, and it's maggot-wise. Try it yourself. It's foulsome snozcumber. No, thank you, Sophie said, backing away. It's all you're going to be guzzling around here from now on, so you might as well get used to it, said the BFG. Go on, you snippy little winkle, have a go. Sophie took a small nibble. Ugh, she sputtered. Oh no, oh gosh, oh help. She spat it out quickly. It tastes of frog skin, she gasped, and rotten fish. Worse than that, cried the BFG, roaring with laughter. To me, it's a tasting of cockroaches and slime wranglers. Do we really have to eat it? Sophie said. You do, unless you is wanting to become so thin you will be disappearing into a thick ear. Into thin air, Sophie said. A thick ear is something quite different. Once again, that sad, winsome look came into the BFG's eyes. Words, he said, is such a twinkling problem to me all my life. So you must simply try to be patient and stop squibbling. As I am telling you before, I know exactly what words I am wanting to say, but somehow or another they is always getting squiddled around. That happens to everyone, Sophie said. Not like it happened to me, the BFG said. I is speaking the most terrible Wiglish. I think you speak beautifully, Sophie said. You do? Cried the BFG, suddenly brightening. You really do? Simply beautifully, Sophie repeated. Well, that is the nicest present anyone has ever given me in my whole life, cried the BFG. Are you sure you're not twiddling my leg? There they are. Ah, pages are stuck. Of course not, Sophie said. I just love the way you talk. How wondercrump, cried the BFG, still beaming. How whoopsie spunkles, how absolutely squiffling. I is all a stutter. Listen, Sophie said, we don't have to eat Snow's cucumbers. In the fields around our village, there are all sorts of lovely vegetables like cauliflower and carrots. Why don't you get some of those the next time you go visiting? The BFG raised his great head proudly in the air. I is a very honorable giant, he said. I would rather be chewing up some snozcumbers than snitching things from other people. You stole me, Sophie said. I did not steal you very much, said the BFG, smiling gently. After all, he was only a tiny little girl. All right, that's all we're going to read in the BFG today. We'll see what happens next time. Bye, guys.